Hey, you're listening to the Browncast. David Bowie recently passed away. He left behind a great legacy, as well as a troubled past concerning rape allegations. We're going to talk about the man, his legacy, and the extent to which the rape accusations affect how he'll be remembered. Just to put it out there, I know some of David Bowie's songs. I know of him because of Flight of the Conchords, because Jermaine was a huge fan, but I'm by no means a huge David Bowie fan. There's a few songs of him that I really like. That's about it. So you are, right?
I'm a big Bowie fan.
Some of the salient points about Bowie's career is one of the most influential musicians of the past several decades, two-time Grammy winner and who influenced queer culture, and then changed how the world viewed fashion trends and inspired hundreds, if not thousands, of musicians, artists, and entertainers across the globe. But then again, he also had rape allegations in 1987. And what I find...
Rape.
What was that?
Statutory rape.
Right, sex with a minor. And what I found fascinating is that during all the coverage when he died, you didn't really hear any mention of that. And that struck me because I was thinking, well, do you mention it? Do you not? Is it appropriate? Does it matter if it's appropriate or not? Should you mention it for the own health of our society? Even if it may be a little uncomfortable to bring that up, because he did have a complicated past. Some people would probably go as far as calling him a rapist. He was never indicted and prosecuted for it, so I'm not really sure what to make of it. But it is out there. The victim did speak about it, and she admitted she's the one that there's like an interview with her, with one of them. The other one was an accusation of rape, but with one of them, that when she was 15 years old, there's a whole interview that she did where she goes into detail and explains the sexual encounter. So I don't think you can easily just brush that out under the carpet and say, oh, yeah, that's just somebody trying to get their 15 minutes of fame in the spotlight. I think you have to take that one seriously. I'm not too sure about the second one. I have to read more about it.
So I didn't know there was two.
What was that?
I said I didn't know there was two. I thought there was only one, the statutory rape.
Yeah, the second one was an allegation from a 30-something-year-old woman who accused him of forcing himself on her when he was 40 years old outside of a concert. I think it was after a concert in Dallas. But David Bowie denied those allegations, and he said that she was just trying to make some easy money off of him. But obviously that's what they always say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also artists, these people, they have a lot of money, so once the allegations come up, they're able to buy off the people to shut them up.
Yeah, like Bill Cosby.
Right, exactly.
And Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson. And a bunch of others. But,
and Kobe and Kobe Bryant and
Bill Clinton.
And what's his name? The one that was caught giving a golden shower to that girl, R. Kelly?
R. Kelly.
Yeah.
All right, so let me give my 2 cents. I'm a big Bowie fan, and I've been a Bowie fan for maybe 10, 15 years, and I think I was a little disappointed that I didn't know this myself. I guess it's by design that they would omit this kind of information because they don't want to tarnish somebody with that kind of standing. They don't want to bring up that stuff because it's obviously a negative thing, but as a fan, I think that should have been available to me, that they should have made it known along with all his successes. They should have made light of this particular aspect of his legacy. I feel a little disappointed that I didn't know, but I think I'm more disappointed in the fact that it took until he died that people felt comfortable to bring it up. I wish I would have known this before. It would not have changed my perception of him. I would still have great admiration for him, but I wish I had known before. And I guess to the point of why this doesn't matter whenever it's somebody famous, it's a universal thing. It wasn't only Bowie. Like we just mentioned a bunch of names. It's a systematic thing that happens whenever somebody has power, I guess. They feel like they're entitled to certain things and they're immune from prosecution or from some legal procedures, and they can just pay people off. I guess it comes with the power.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a follow-up question then, because that's interesting what you say in regards to you not knowing, but most of your exposure to David Bowie has been in the context of music. So
not exactly.
That's what I was going to ask you. So under what context do you think it would have been appropriate? Like, give me some examples, because let's say that you're watching a show and it's a musical show and one of the guests is David Bowie. Now, are they going to say two-time Grammy winner who's also been accused? Yeah, exactly, two-time rapist. It's not only is it not in their interest to say that to tarnish his reputation. In that setting, it doesn't seem like it's the right place to bring it up, because they're trying to focus on music. Now, if they did a documentary on his life, then sure, those allegations could come up.
All right, well, let me punch a criticized hole into that argument by bringing up Roman Polanski. I mean, when was the last time that fool made a movie? And yet, I'm very well versed with his case and that 15-year-old girl that he had sex with.
She was 13.
Call it what do you want.
But boys and girls, Roman Polanski is a very. You guys should watch some of his movies. Macbeth is one I can remember.
But the difference with Polanski is that he was never able to separate himself and his life from those accusations, because he fled the country. So whenever you heard about Polanski, it's because he was living abroad, most likely,
of that.
And it was relevant.
He fled to Switzerland, right?
Yeah, and so it was always relevant because the case was always pending, the extradition of him. Whereas with David Bowie, he was able to move on and try to put that behind him. And
well, I think the thing about famous people, especially famous people who are talented, there's a talent, and then there's their personalities, their what they do in life, and there's a lot of people that we could admire for their talent, but if we dig and we actually learn about their story, I mean, some of these people that we like can actually be disgusting as people, really disgusting. And I wanted to bring that up. I mean, because I also listen to David Bowie. I'm not a big fan, but I know that he has influenced a lot of musicians, including Kurt Cobain's musical writing skills and others. He has definitely left his mark when it comes on to music.
And he also made great strides towards queer culture by being open about
being different.
Yeah, by being different and by accepting it, and to a certain extent by making it cool. But my question is, going back to what Dandy and I were talking about, under what setting would you have felt that this would have been appropriate? Under any setting or under specific ones? Under what context? As a society, there's obviously formalities. People have their formalities as to when is the right time to bring something up and when it's not. Should there be formalities in this case? And if there aren't any, when do you think would have been a good time for people to have been taught about David Bowie's history? Like in your case, Dandy, that you didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just going to voice my opinion. And I think that this goes deeper than what you and I can discuss. I think this is a psychological thing, especially when we build certain people up. We really don't want to bring up anything that would tarnish our perception of them.
Right.
In my case, I could handle anything that they throw at me. If you give me like 90% positive of somebody, and you tell me the reality of the 10% that is not necessarily that positive, I can live with it. I can see that everybody's a human, everybody's flawed, everybody's prone to making mistakes. But the way some people function is they completely wanna turn away from those aspects because they want to get I don't know what it is they get out of it, but they want to feel like that relationship they have with that certain entity, or that in the way they have built them up is untarnishable. And I think that goes to human psychology, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mentioned that, that individuals, we build people up. Especially when we first hear, and this is my opinion, of course, when I first hear of somebody that I admire their talent or whatever, and I have built up. When I hear of accusations like this, like one accusation, the very first time, I always have it in my mind, like, how is it true? Is it what's really going on? And then, but it does change when, and I'm thinking about Bill Cosby specifically. It does change when you start hearing about other victims, and more victims,
right? Because you see the pattern.
Stories. And then my stories started, and including with Michael Jackson too. I remember when I was a kid, I heard, when I heard that he fondled a boy, I was like, I didn't know if it was true or not, but I didn't jump to it. It wasn't until like later on, you get more and more cases, and then the pattern starts building. And I think that's what's going on right now. If this is the first time that I've heard of it too. It is a well-known case, and it is accepted. But now, if we start hearing more cases, then I think that, in my view anyway, it would tarnish the person who David Bowie was,
who you thought he was,
or thought. Yeah, I thought it was.
But with these two allegations, the way you view him is not changed. You still would rather just kind of question the authenticity of these two.
I personally think he's a fucking pig for sleeping with a 14-year-old. But again,
15.
It's interesting because there's two aspects. There's the personal life that I don't know. The only thing I know about this guy is, one, he refused to be knighted, and two, his rape allegation with the 14-year-old.
So what about just to play devil's advocate here to the people who would say, well, if you look at all the contributions that he made to our society, to progress, and you offset them with the rape allegations, at the end he still comes out contributing a lot. For example, in addition to influencing queer culture, there's an interview, you guys probably heard of it, where he confronts MTV. He asks the interviewer why MTV doesn't play black artists or more black artists on the show. And this is back in the 80s when MTV wouldn't play black artists, even though they were clearly rock and roll. I think Rick James was one of them, and then I forget which one is the other one. And so he stood up for the rights of blacks back then. And having, again, because he had his stature, he had the power, he was someone that could voice the concerns of millions of other people, and he did it, and that's definitely a positive thing. Does that in any way change who he was? Can we offset the positives with the negatives and say, well, you know what, flawed individual, but at the end of the day, it's still...
For me, it does.
It's kind of funny how you said that.
Yeah, go ahead. You're back of the bus. Go ahead, stand up. Speak up.
No, yeah, for me, it does. It does offset it. If, like Mikey was saying, if no new information comes out, if you just, chalk this one up to him being, predatory in the moment, maybe it was a crime of opportunity. I mean, it's still a crime, obviously. Even if she was willing, it's still a crime. But maybe there's a one-off. You know what I mean? Like, but if you start seeing a pattern like that of Bill Cosby, where he had even a fucking method to do it, then no, I don't think there's anything in the world that he could have any beneficial aspects of him that could offset, a predatory personality that he might have had.
See, for me, it doesn't. It doesn't offset it. I mean, even with Bill Clinton, sorry, even with
Bill Clinton, you can throw Bill Clinton into that group too.
And you can, yes, you absolutely can. These individuals, they have done good things in their life, even though they've committed crimes, and rape is one of the worst crimes you can commit. But to tell you the truth, I wouldn't feel comfortable letting my 14-year-old daughter be in the room with her.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you next, Mikey. Like, I mean, you have to wonder, how did it happen that he was left alone with this 14-year-old?
Oh, well, hold on. She was a groupie. So she was 15, by the way, 15 years old, and she was one of those groupies that used to hang out, I think, in West Hollywood. So,
well, regardless, I mean, what I'm trying to clarify here is that, it's like these individuals have done, good things, even Bill Cosby. I remember when he stood up and he said that on national TV that that black artists should stop using the N word. One can agree with that. There's nothing. Just I mean, he is a rapist, but it doesn't mean because he's a rapist that everything he does is absolutely wrong and bad. And I can shake the person's hand. I can say that person is right, but I wouldn't drink. Have a drink with them. I wouldn't let my 14-year-old daughter hang out with them. So that would always be in my mind. It's like
if I were to ask you guys then, because there's definitely some crimes that are considered unforgivable. Then you guys it sounds like you guys are saying that in this case, having sex with a 15-year-old and being accused of forcing himself on like a 30-year-old, those are not unforgivable crimes. So now my next follow-up question would be, are we being biased because we're men? Because what would a woman say to these things from her point of view? I don't know if you guys would be able to maybe try to put yourself in her shoes, because I think unfortunately I think we should have a woman that can tell us her perspective on this. But I think that they would be less forgiving of David Bowie.
Well, maybe not the 15-year-old. Maybe the other one. If it was a legitimate case where she was not disposed and he was actually trying to force himself on her, then I can see how that could be unforgivable.
But not the 15-year-old case?
No, not exactly. Not the 15-year-old, because would we be having this conversation if that 15-year-old had sex with another 15-year-old? I mean, the fact that she made herself available to him is sort of like how do you call it? It's just a technicality that he was older than her.
But according to the laws, according to the laws, the laws are in place for a very specific reason. What I'm saying is that it wasn't an aggravated rape. It wasn't he didn't actually brutalize her. Is what I'm saying. I think there should be a distinction between those two rapes. And
we don't know that. Well, we don't know that. We don't know the.
Well, actually, yeah, exactly. We don't know the
point of view of the victim here.
Well, no, but she did admit that it was consensual, and that she wanted to do it, and she does admit that. Although the law clearly states that someone under 18 can give consent for obvious reasons, because it's a gray area.
You're trying to get into the mind of the 15-year-old. We're not analyzing through how we view the law. You're analyzing, or you're trying to get into the shoes of the 15-year-old. And what I was saying is, from her point of view, it made no difference if she had sex with David Bowie that day or if she had sex with a 15-year-old.
Yeah, that's not true. It made a big difference because she had sex with David Bowie.
David Bowie?
Yeah, that's a good point. If you look at it through an evolutionary lens, there's no crime. I know. Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I know. I thought I lost you guys. This is not the first time that I bring up this topic, this discussion. I'm not. I don't necessarily believe it, but I know it makes people uncomfortable. But evolutionary lens will dictate that this is okay. So I don't think it's okay. Again, I wouldn't. It wouldn't. It would always be in the back of my mind if I met the person, if I was eating with that person, next to that person, it would be in the back of my mind. It's like this guy did this. I can't believe it. But that's it. I mean, now it would be interesting to have a female perspective and versus a female perspective who is a fan, and see what they would say.
Yeah.
But I personally wouldn't. I wouldn't. Again, I wouldn't trust him with my 14-year-old. So that I think that answers that question. But but doesn't mean that that whatever all the things that this person has done are bad because of that. No, I'm sure he's done plenty of good things and plenty of things that are admired by thousands, if not millions. But this is a crime. It did happen. He got away with it. Why did he get away with it? And I guess that's another question. It's like, why did he really get away with it? Was it because of his
because of the system?
Yeah, because what if David Bowie had been this is actually a perfect one. Chuck Berry, who were constantly reminded that he had sex with an underage girl too. And I don't know if you guys listen to a lot of Chuck Berry, but that's common. That is out there a lot. And that goes back to the question of, well, why do they, of race, because he had sex with an underage white girl.
Yeah.
And so Chuck Berry ultimately, though, I think he actually went to jail because of it, though.
He did.
Yeah, he did. Although it's a lot more complex, though, because you had the segregation laws and then you had the racism against blacks. But it also speaks volumes to the fact that, like Dario was saying, he didn't even know about this with David Bowie, and that's also because they didn't bring it up. Now,
wasn't that the Chuck Berry case? Wasn't it because he took two white girls across state lines?
Oh, you know what? I think you're right, because he took them across state lines, and that made it a federal case.
But two girls hopping in the car. Come on.
Right,
They're not going to talk about religion.
Yeah, but even let's just put aside the fact that he did go to jail. Let's just say that he wouldn't have gone to jail. I was talking more about the fact that the general public is constantly reminded of that when they hear about Chuck Berry, and
with David Bowie, it's not convenient though
to tarnish his reputation. So certain people decide that it's okay to tarnish the reputations of some artists, but not others. So it's favoritism. So the media was playing favoritism and guarding, being the guardians of David Bowie's reputation.
Yeah, I agree. I wish they would have brought this up a long time ago. I wish I had known this.
Right. And that's the other thing too, is like if there isn't any evidence that this is a repeated pattern or that he's a serial rapist, serial rapist. Aren't we a society this founded by the idea that we believe in second chances?
I agree with that.
Although we don't know if he continued doing it or not. We don't know if he kept doing it, but he didn't get caught, or if he truly.
But then you're not really saying much right there, because I think, and I'm willing to bet that he's not the only one. And even at this present day, I'm pretty sure it's still going on in those circles. So it's just a problem with that kind of culture, with that power dynamic.
Yeah, I don't know. I think these are really unforgivable acts. And how many times does somebody have to rape or get accused of raping before somebody can label him and say, you know what, that's unforgivable, and he's going to be cast out of society? He was protected by the media, and he was protected where other people wouldn't have been protected as much. Kobe Bryant was definitely protected and guarded by the interest that benefited from having him get off of that case. It's just it's fascinating to me, and it's interesting. And what I think about this with David Bowie is, what is the measurement of an individual? How do you define them? How do you define their legacy? Is it as simple as adding the contributions and offsetting the negatives, or is it much more than that?
How about, what is the problem with saying, man, this guy, he did this, and he was accused of rape? I mean, that's just his story. That is his story, and why is it that we have to go, oh, he did this, but never mind the other stuff?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I agree with you. I think our society, for the health of our society, should be honest about those things. I think they should be able to bring those things up, because then it starts getting very subjective, because then people decide whether or not they want to bring these allegations up, and then they start protecting them. And I completely agree that I think we're all in agreement here. It's a very nuanced subject, and that's why I'm trying to get into the subtleties of why it is that for certain individuals it seems to become a problem, but others it doesn't. And I'm also trying to put myself into the shoes of are we being biased because we're men? How would a woman interpret this? And I'd be really curious.
I'm sure, and especially how would a victim?
Exactly, the victim as well, and a person that's been victimized.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't trust them with a minor.
You made that known, Mikey.
And yes, I did. I have said 4 or 5 times already. But I mean, I don't want to let that go, because it is his truth. It is his story. What is it? It's I heard this line. Was it in Kill Bill? One of the Kill Bill movies? Something about a snake.
That was in you're talking about American that movie with Woody Harrelson and that girl, Natural Born Killers.
What is it?
It says that why did you bite me, and then the snake says because I was a snake. Why the hell?
Snake, right?
Yeah, what you think I was gonna do?
Right, exactly. So I mean, you could admire the snake. You could see it. It does its thing, but it's like, would you trust it? It's like, no. It's like, you just respect it as it is. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not saying we should respect David Bowie. I'm not saying we should disrespect him. But I think that
you're saying that we should disrespect them?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we should acknowledge that. We should acknowledge those truths about these individuals. We should talk about how R. Kelly, urinated on a minor, and I'm sure he done other things. And we should talk about how Bill Clinton had sex in the White House. Why not? Should we make him like the main focus of their of life story? No, I don't think so. Now, having sex with a minor is disgusting. He is a disgusting individual for doing that, and that's just that.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Although, let me, I guess, in closing, from my part, let me say that I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit in saying that I'm not defending him, but I'm saying that I think there's a systemic problem within any culture where you have people with such power, like the likes that you guys mentioned already, people who are able to buy their way out of any legal procedures, and so I think that's the biggest travesty right there, that somebody without less money, without less resources, would not be able to wipe this under the rug, whereas since because they have the cachet, they have the popularity, they have money, and they have standing, they're able to do it. I think that is one of the biggest travesties.
If you have the means, you could avoid those. Problems.
All right, guys. I think we're at a good place to stop.
Hey, if you can, you should finish this podcast, at least his portion of David Bowie with "The Man Who Sold the World." That's one of his songs.
I'll listen to it. I don't think I've heard it. The one that I usually listen to is the
Nirvana
Starman. Oh, right. So that's a cover of David Bowie's song?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I actually listened to Kurt Cobain say that's a David Bowie song.